In the midst of winter, during the year 9616 of the Dragon Mountain calendar, the events took place in Tranquil Sun province, specifically within Azure River County, which lay within the boundaries of Water Rights City. A rush of air passed by, creating a whooshing sound, indicating the presence of Snow Eagle Ridge. Another whoosh followed shortly after. The sound of hooves echoed as someone pulled back on the reins, causing the horse to come to a sudden stop. A startled exclamation, "Wah!" escaped from their lips. Then, there was a swooshing noise, as if something was flying through the air. This was accompanied by a metallic sound, similar to shik, followed by another swoosh. Amidst these sounds, the name Dongbo Xueying, an 8-year-old, could be heard. The applause of someone clapping their hands followed, praising Xueying's remarkable performance. Another whoosh resonated through the air, and Xueying called out to their father and uncle Tong San. Dongbo Lie, who held the title of Lord of Snow Eagle Domain and was Xueying's father, responded. He expressed his belief to Tong San, his brother, that Xueying possessed impressive strength. Dongbo Lie confirmed Xueying's success in hitting the target and questioned whether their short spear training for the day was now concluded. Xueying's exceptional abilities, at such a tender age, amazed everyone present. Dongbo Lie expressed concern that Xueying's future accomplishments would surpass his own. Xueying, in turn, pondered the possibility of surpassing their father's achievements and aspiring to overcome a heaven-rank knight. The atmosphere was filled with tension as the scene transitioned. A clenching of fists was felt, accompanied by words of encouragement, emphasizing that success could be achieved through hard work. The affirmation was met with agreement, generating a sense of determination. A whooshing sound resonated, signaling the shift to Snow Rock Castle. Another whoosh followed, suggesting movement or a change of location. Upon arrival, a voice called out to the mother, announcing their return. The sound of something heavy hitting the ground, like a clunk, was heard. The names Xueying and Dongbo were mentioned, possibly referring to family members. Moyang Yu, the wife of Dongbo Lie, spoke up, addressing someone named Qingshi. It was revealed that Qingshi was Dongbo's older sibling. Dongbo Qingshi, who was 2 years old, was excitedly sharing news of hunting down an enormous deer. There was some confusion in Qingshi's pronunciation, mistaking super for soup paw and big for bwig. Moyang Yu corrected Qingshi, explaining that it was indeed a deer, but a wild one. The successful hunt meant that they would have a grand feast that evening. The prospect of a feast brought joy, expressed by Qingshi in their enthusiastic exclamation of FW East. FW East. However, Dongbo Lie's reaction was unexpected. His voice filled with disbelief, suggesting that something had caught him off guard. The nature of his surprise remained unknown at this point. A swooshing sound filled the air, prompting someone to inquire about the source of unease and tension. Dongbo, clearly on edge, expressed a foreboding feeling about an imminent discovery. He believed that they might be found soon. In response, his companion reassured him, stating that they had been living peacefully in Water Rights City for 8 years since their escape. They had successfully evaded detection thus far, and there was no reason to believe that their tranquility would be disrupted. They would continue to live a peaceful life there. Expressing gratitude, Dongbo's companion acknowledged the sacrifices made for the sake of their family. Feeling like a burden, they tried to dwell on the past, but Dongbo interrupted, urging them to refrain from discussing such somber matters. Instead, he enthusiastically brought up Xueying's remarkable performance earlier that day, praising the child's genius. Dongbo predicted that within 2 years, Xueying would possess the ability to generate battle aura. He also asked Qingshi if they aspired to become a powerful knight in the future. The conversation touched upon the titles of Great Knight Number 7 and Great Knight Number 8, indicating different levels of knightly prowess. Dongbo mentioned Uncle Tong San's statement about Xueying surpassing their father, suggesting that Xueying might even exceed the power of a heaven-rank knight in the future. Qingshi, in their innocent manner, had mispronounced heaven as Hawen, prompting a correction from Dongbo. He proceeded to explain the hierarchy of knights, which consisted of 7 levels: human, earth, heaven, meteor, silver moon, titled, and transcendent. Human, earth, and heaven ranks were considered regular knights. The conversation ended with the mention of Earth-rank knights, leaving the implication that further levels would have been discussed if the dialogue had continued. The conversation delved into the higher ranks of knights, beyond heaven rank. Meteor, Silver Moon, and titled ranks were categorized as celestial knights. These knights possessed extraordinary abilities and were revered for their prowess. Above them were the Transcendents, who surpassed mortal limitations and gained unimaginable strength. Mortals were powerless against Transcendents, even when vastly outnumbering them. They could confront towering lava giants and malevolent abyssal demons, and even the gods held them in cautious regard. Transcendents defended against invading transcendental lifeforms, instilling fear in all foreign beings. They were the pillars of humanity's strength. The dialogue shifted to someone expressing a strong desire to become a transcendent knight. They yearned for the power to capture demons for amusement. However, a sigh interrupted their longing. Suddenly, a rumbling sound interrupted the conversation, indicating an imminent threat. The urgency escalated as multiple voices exclaimed that a situation had arisen. The atmosphere grew tense, and a swift whooshing sound followed. Clashing and clanging noises filled the air as everyone was urged to be on guard. Amidst the commotion, someone called out to Moyang Yu, announcing that they had finally found her. The abrupt interruption left the context and nature of the situation unknown, leaving a sense of anticipation in the air. I apologize if I have somehow offended you or the Moyang clan, but as an AI language model, I don't have a physical form and therefore cannot engage in any actions or face any punishment. It seems like you're describing a dramatic scene or dialogue involving a character called the Meteor Knight, and a confrontation between different clans. However, without further context or specific information about the story or characters involved, it's difficult for me to provide a meaningful response or continuation to the scene. As the scene continues, it appears that little Yu encounters someone named Moyang Chen, who is referred to as their brother. Moyang Chen mentions not having seen little Yu for over a decade and asks if they have stepped into the celestial stage and become a Silver Moon mage. Little Yu responds with a simple, "Yeah," implying that they have indeed advanced to the celestial stage and become a Silver Moon mage. In this continuation of the scene, Moyang Chen reveals that little Yu has broken their clan rules and insists on bringing them back home. Little Yu protests, stating that they are now a noble and that Moyang Chen cannot go against the laws of the empire to take them back. However, Moyang Chen produces a decree from the empire that sentences little Yu to 100 years of imprisonment and Baron Dongbo Lie to 100 years of physical labor. Moyang Chen is appointed to carry out this decree. Before little Yu can respond, Moyang Chen silences them with a forceful command. The scene ends with tension and unanswered questions. In the continued scene, little Yu engages in a physical altercation with Moyang Chen. Little Yu manages to land a successful strike, surprising Moyang Chen with their strength. However, the confrontation is interrupted by someone named Xueying. Uncertain of the situation, Xueying intervenes, possibly attempting to stop the fight or protect little Yu. This causes a momentary pause in the conflict, but the scene becomes tense again as the situation remains unresolved. Little Yu expresses their frustration, addressing Moyang Chen as their uncle and questioning his treatment of them and their family. Little Yu is determined to take Moyang Chen down. In the midst of the turmoil, little Yu's loved ones, including their parents and siblings, express their fear and concern. Dongbo's name is mentioned, possibly indicating a connection or relationship to the noble Dongbo clan. The scene ends with an air of uncertainty and tension. In this emotional moment, Xueying receives a pendant from their parents. It is revealed to be a storage treasure containing valuable items and the spear techniques their mother taught them. Their mother instructs them to take good care of the pendant and use it well, emphasizing the importance of working hard and practicing the techniques. Xueying is shocked and addresses their mother and father, expressing their disbelief and sadness. However, their parents explain that this is the only way, implying a difficult decision or sacrifice they have made. The scene ends with a somber atmosphere, leaving Xueying and their sibling to grapple with their parents' instructions and the weight of the situation. In a desperate plea, Xueying turns to their uncle for help, hoping that he might have a solution to save their parents. In response, their uncle instructs them to retrieve the black iron token. The mention of this token surprises Xueying, who is unfamiliar with its significance or purpose. With a sense of urgency, their uncle declares that they are leaving. Xueying, still emotional and filled with grief, expresses their sorrow for their parents before clenching their fists and resolving to obtain the black iron token. The scene ends with Xueying determined to reunite with their parents and save them, setting off on a journey fueled by love and hope. Filled with determination, the protagonist vowed to become stronger. After 7 years had passed, the scene shifted to the Desolation Mountains. The air resonated with the sound of fierce battles, characterized by the swift whooshing and crunching noises. Amidst the chaos, the presence of black-scaled jackals became apparent. These creatures, now possessing white scales, had evolved into level 3 magical beasts. The emergence of their white scales indicated their remarkable progress. In fact, each of these beasts had become as formidable as a knight ranked in the heavens. As the tension mounted, Dongbo and Xueying, both 15 years old, bravely stood their ground and faced these powerful opponents head-on. The sound of rustling leaves filled the air, accompanied by the swift movements of the protagonist. With determination in their eyes, they prepared to showcase their skills in the midst of a real battle. Utilizing the dark ice spear technique, which they had honed through rigorous training, they unleashed their prowess. The atmosphere crackled with energy as they conjured the power of their technique. Suddenly, a growl echoed through the surroundings, but undeterred, the protagonist unleashed the falling snow spear technique. The air hummed with anticipation as they unsheathed their weapon, the sound of metal clashing filling the space. The tension mounted as the protagonist prepared for their next move. A momentary silence hung in the air, followed by a resounding pop and click. With a fierce roar, they unleashed their attack, a swift whoosh slicing through the air. Their opponent met their demise as the battle reached its climax. The air filled with growls as the Dongbo sensed the approach of their enemies. Suddenly, with a swift movement, something whooshed through the air. It was followed by a heavy thud as the protagonist successfully dodged an incoming attack. Reacting quickly, they flicked their wrist, countering with a swift strike of their own. Confident in their abilities, they muttered, "Easy." The sound of rustling leaves indicated the presence of more adversaries. The growls intensified, hinting at their increasing numbers. A shuffling sound echoed through the surroundings, confirming the arrival of reinforcements. The protagonist gritted their teeth in response. But before they could react, a menacing growl resounded, and they felt the impact of an attack. The sound of a chomp was followed by the clang of weapons colliding. The clash of metal reverberated through the air as the battle intensified. The Dongbo Lie unleashed consecutive strikes with a flurry of whooshing sounds. Amidst the chaos, a sudden realization struck the protagonist. With a whooshing sound, they swiftly moved, evading an imminent threat. Urgently, they called out to Xueying, acknowledging the overwhelming number of enemies. They instructed her to seek an opportunity to escape if holding them off became impossible. However, their attention was diverted as they recognized the presence of Zong Ling, a 6-armed snake demon, who unexpectedly appeared. Surprised, the protagonist questioned Zong's presence, wondering why they were there. Zong responded, expressing their worry and concern for the protagonist's safety. The battle continued with the sound of swooping attacks and the clash of weapons. Grateful for Zong's concern, the protagonist reassured them, indicating that there was no need to worry. With determined swishing movements, they pressed on, battling their adversaries. The air was filled with howls, accompanied by the resounding clang and clack of weapons colliding. Xueying, be careful, there's something behind you. As the situation unfolds, Xueying finds herself surrounded and in danger. She expresses her determination to handle the situation herself, assuring her Uncle Zong that he should focus on his own safety. However, Uncle Zong dismisses her, considering her inexperienced and not ready for actual combat. In response, Xueying suggests viewing the situation as a training opportunity and asks Uncle Zong to teach her some additional moves. Their dialogue is interrupted by the sound of weapons clashing, symbolizing the intensifying battle. As the fight progresses, Xueying's spear gets stuck in the scales of an opponent. She struggles to free it, realizing the peril she's in. The tension increases as the opponent growls menacingly, making their presence even more threatening. Just when the situation seems dire, someone warns Xueying of an imminent danger behind her, emphasizing the need for her to be vigilant and react quickly. In the intense battle, with no other options available, the character realizes they must take drastic measures. They summon their battle aura, unleashing a surge of power and energy represented by a whoosh sound effect. The environment rumbles as the character's determination intensifies. They declare that they are getting serious and the battle aura continues to emanate from them. The battle escalates with more rumbling and the battle aura growing stronger. The character swiftly moves, making shoosh and swish sounds, indicating their agility and skill in combat. Amidst the chaos, a fierce roar echoes through the air. However, amidst the clashes, there is a sudden crack sound, followed by an exclamation of pain or surprise with "Olch" and "Oh no." The tension rises as there are consecutive clack sounds, likely indicating the collision of weapons or some other intense action. In the midst of it all, someone calls out for Xueying, possibly signaling a dangerous situation involving her. The danger of the venomous beasts becomes apparent with their fangs and paws. The repeated clack sound intensifies the sense of threat. The protagonist realizes that their survival is at stake, knowing that if the situation persists, it could lead to their demise. Faced with no other options, they exclaim, Yu Jingqiu. In frustration or determination, the protagonist acknowledges the necessity of their next course of action and declares that they have to resort to it. With a swift swoosh, they make their move. The exclamation, "What the?" indicates surprise or confusion at a sudden development or unexpected sight. The mention of the ancient bloodline suggests a significant lineage or heritage that holds importance in this situation. This heritage may grant the protagonist special abilities or knowledge. With a resounding swing, they utilize their powers or wield a weapon, making an impact that could be represented by the sound effect, boom. The subsequent clack sound implies resistance or retaliation from the creatures. The exclamation, uck, suggests frustration, pain, or exertion on the part of the protagonist. The scene ends with an air of tension and uncertainty. Mr. Zong expresses his concern that actual combat is different from training, as he could feel the surge of power and his blood boiling during the fight. He believes that with continued practice like this, he will soon have a breakthrough. The sound of a snap indicates a sudden realization or understanding. Someone questions Mr. Zong about his presence alone in Desolation Mountains without informing others beforehand. It is mentioned that Tong San was worried about him. Mr. Zong explains that he is familiar with the area and was able to locate the person in time, implying that they could have encountered dangerous magical beasts. There is concern about how to explain the situation to the person's parents if they had encountered advanced magical beasts. The person apologizes for their actions. Despite the initial scolding, Mr. Zong is relieved that the person is safe and sound, and he decides not to nag them too much about it. The conversation shifts as the person reveals their intention to find a magister mage to train someone named Qingshi, who will turn 10 next year. They mention Bai Yanji, the celestial mage from Waterright City, as the best master for Qingshi. Mr. Zong, with a grin, seems to have guessed the person they were referring to. Mr. Zong then asks if Bai Yanji has mentioned any requirements or conditions for becoming Qingshi's master. The person explains that Bai Yanji has asked for either the fresh heart of a Silver Moon Wolf King or a sum of 50,000 gold coins as compensation. The person explains that their family's financial situation, due to Snow Eagle Ridge's current status, makes it impossible for them to gather the required number of gold coins. They express the difficulty of affording such a sum. Mr. Zong deduces that the person came to Desolation Mountains to challenge the Silver Moon Wolf King. However, the person clarifies that they have no intention of doing so. They elaborate on the formidable nature of the level 4 magical beast and the number of subordinate wolves under its command, making it impossible to defeat even with a group effort. The person reveals their true purpose: to confront the Scimitar sect, a group of bandits who have robbed Snow Eagle Domain and harmed commoners. By eliminating the bandits, they aim to uphold justice for the people of Snow Eagle Domain and resolve their financial crisis simultaneously. The leader of the Scimitar sect, Gai Bin, is a meteor rank knight and is supported by a heaven rank mage. Additionally, there are numerous bandits working under them. The person mentions a previous encounter with the bandits, where their army fought fiercely but was unable to completely drive them away. They inquire about Mr. Zhang's opinion regarding their abilities. However, based on the given context, there is no explicit information about Mr. Zhang's response or his opinion on the person's abilities. Mr. Zhang acknowledges the person's dedication to training and how their battle aura formed quickly with the support of Blaze's three-stage method. The awakening of their ancient bloodline significantly increased their power, making them on par with Silver Moon-ranked individuals and stronger than Mr. Zhang and Tong San in terms of power. The person mentions that it has been 7 years since their parents left, and they are determined to rescue them. They believe that acquiring the Black Iron Token is the key to saving their parents and becoming stronger. They express their determination to challenge formidable opponents, whether they are magical beasts in Desolation Mountains or the Scimitar sect. The person emphasizes the need to become stronger quickly, hoping that by doing so, Dragon Mountain Tower, which possesses the Black Iron Token, will reveal everything to them. Suddenly, a character named Xueying appears and remarks on the person's growth. They find it amusing that the person intends to annihilate the Scimitar sect. Mocking the person, they question their confidence. With a sound effect of shoosh, the scene implies that someone or something interrupted the conversation, possibly a swift movement or a sudden event.